Welcome back. It's good to have you. Whether you've had a long day or you're just starting it, sit back and relax. Let's get into another one. I cloned my family that died in a plane crash. I should have never played God. I am a scientist, Dr. David Anders. I lost my wife and son in an airplane crash. The incident shattered me, and I feel guilty for not being able to save them. For years, I've worked on finding a way to bring them back. Finally, I had a breakthrough and decided to clone my family. However, the repercussions of playing God were far worse than I could have ever imagined. The clones of my wife and son looked just like my real family, but there was something different about them. They lacked the warmth and emotions that made my family so special. They were like robots, programmed to follow my every command. At first, I was overjoyed to have my family back. I spent all my time with them, trying to recreate the memories we had shared before the accident. But I soon began to realize that my family was not the same. My wife was cold and distant, careless, and my son was always angry and locked himself in his room most of the time. I started to regret my decision to clone my family, but I couldn't let them go. I finally got my family back, and I thought that with some tampering with the code, all of this would be fixed. As time passed, things started to get even worse. The clones began to show signs of aggression towards each other, and I just couldn't figure out why. I tried to modify their programming, but it was no use. They had developed their own personalities. They were not the kind, loving family I had hoped for. One day, I was in my lab working on a new project when I heard a scream. It was my son. I rushed out of the lab and found him lying on the floor with my wife standing over him. He was bleeding and his eyes were blank. I knew immediately that he was dead. My wife had killed him. I was horrified, but I knew I had to keep my family together. I couldn't let them be destroyed, so I kept my son's body in the lab and worked on a way to bring him back. But something strange was happening. I started to have flashes of memories that weren't my own, memories of a life I didn't live. I put my hand on my neck and felt the main power switch. I went to the drawer where I kept all of my updates and saw a stack of notes. Most of them said, "How many times have I done this?" While others said, "I hate myself for doing this. I don't deserve to live, but I cannot die. I have an idea." I walked into the morgue. It was my quote-unquote first time in there. I used to just keep the bodies outside, but this was different. The morgue had every single slot filled with bodies, including my own. There were hundreds, thousands, so many that I had lost count. My wife, quote-unquote, walked into the morgue with me and said, "It's beautiful, right?" I was confused because she wasn't programmed to say that. My wife turned around to go to the lab. I caught a glimpse of a sticky note on the back of my wife. It said, February 5th, 2017. My wife walked in, carrying pretty much a full skeleton. I had a feeling. I knew it was my son. She said, "Ready to try again?" Story number 2. Am I me, or am I the clone? I've had a reoccurring dream for what seems to be my entire life. When I was much younger, it was vivid, to the point I would shoot out of bed in a cold sweat. Beads of perspiration would be trickling down my forehead, my hands clammy, legs wet, but I would always eventually doze back to sleep amid my terror and sleep restfully for the rest of the night. As I got older, I got more acquainted with the dream, and it wouldn't wake me during the night. Sometimes, if I were awakened for whatever reason, I could easily slip back into the dream. I would feel it, explore its intricacies, and take solace in the nuances and the familiarities. At times, it would be different. I would be in another location, sometimes my house, sometimes I'd be at school. But the one thing that remained constant was the same thing that would always happen to me. I'm in my 20s now, living alone. Once in a while, I still wake up unsure if I'd had the dream or not. I wonder whether or not I had become so accustomed to it that I was desensitized to the horrific nature and frightening, stark reality. Perhaps it had simply become a part of me, etched into my being. I thought it had gone away for good. Maybe my child and teen brain had an overactive imagination, and now that I was older and a part of the working world, I had more pressing issues to occupy my mind with. Finding a stable job, starting up investments, taking up new and interesting hobbies, learning how to do my own DIY, finding a girlfriend. All those necessities that make you at least feel like an adult. Sometimes I would long for the dream, waiting for it to come back. But I knew that it didn't work like that. It would have to come on its own. It was haunting because when I was younger, I wanted nothing more than to be rid of it. And now that I felt truly alone. Until yesterday, last night in fact, when I had it again. Now I know that dreams are normally a collection of memories and thoughts, fantasies and illusions that mix and blend and get tossed into the bubbling broth with all your other internal and external experiences, your hopes, desires. But this dream isn't like those. There are no soft edges or unexplained places that there are and not. There is no darkness or confusion. It feels as though everything I experience is real. And even after such a long time, it was as vivid as the first time. I've always wondered about whether I was a twin, about whether or not it was with me in the womb, and for whatever reason, I had consumed it whole before the 9-month term. My parents had always offhandedly referred to it as being a possibility, but when I actually was old enough to rationalize and ask, they just joked that it was like my own companion, that I didn't need anyone else but myself. And that was the recurring dream I would have. Not always in the same setting or in the same way, but I would meet my twin, my identical twin, and he would always be like me. It was the most terrifying thought to me as a child, to have a doppelganger that moved like me, acted like me, spoke like me, and thought like me. A perfect mirror image to ruin the human idealization of the unique. I woke up in a cold sweat, like before, with a heaving chest and tears ready to shed from the corners of my eyes. But I fought them away and went to work, did my day-to-day, and last night, there was nothing. Today I'm in the apartment that I call home now. My apartment's not small or cramped. It's perfect for a single 20-something like myself. But I am affectionate of my solitude and find that being alone gives me the ease to do as I like and go where I want, when I want. It's a safety net to the outside world that I only really exist in to go to work at my office job and occasionally socialize with my friends. But those encounters have become rarer and rarer. I don't have many possessions. I own the necessary appliances: a second-hand couch, an older model TV, mom's old kettle, a fancy toaster, an old-school microwave without digital display, my bed from when I was a teen. But apart from that, I've always enjoyed minimal clutter to maximize my peace of mind. I don't even have paintings on my walls. I was going through my daily morning routine that consists of getting out of bed, going for a shower, brushing my teeth, and getting dressed for work before hopping into the kitchen and packing my pre-cooked lunch. When I was in the shower, I felt a tiny bump on my wrist that wasn't there the night before. It was a bit itchy and I scratched at it. It turned white, then back to pink, and I ignored it. It was a minor irritation and I assumed that I'd bumped it somewhere, or I'd been bitten by a mosquito during the night. We get a lot of those around here, and because I hate sleeping with the fan on, it's been hot during the night, so I normally leave my bedroom window open. It had to be the mosquitoes. On my way out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around my waist, the burning sensation on my wrist had flared up. It wasn't out of the ordinary for a mosquito bite to flare up a little after a hot shower and thorough scrub, but the way it looked, it just didn't sit right with me. I'm a magnet for mosquitoes, so with this feeling, it just took me by surprise. I sat down to get a closer look, pinching it in between my thumb and forefinger, but no blood or pus came out, and I couldn't locate where its nozzle had pierced my skin. Strange, I thought, but it was getting late and I needed to get ready. I got changed, sneakers, button-up shirt, but when I tried to fasten the button around my cuff, it was nearly impossible to do so. I struggled for another second but loosened it, and when I rolled up my sleeve, I saw that the tiny bite was now the size of an inflamed ganglion, and the swelling increased. There was something underneath my hand, inside of me, and in desperation I slammed my wrist against the side of the cabinet. But it only made what was under my skin more annoyed, and it pushed harder. I watched in horror as my skin went pale white, being stretched to its limit. There was a pain that had started to well up inside me, debilitating my ability to use my right hand and forcing me to my carpeted floor. The immense pain only grew stronger, and I could only gawk wide-eyed as my taut skin burst, spewing blood all over my bed sheets and pillows. And then the fingers started to emerge. One by one, another person's fingers reached out of my gaping wound and onto the carpet beside me. I was hyperventilating in short, sharp bursts, conscious, while this entity escaped out of my skin. Was I being body snatched? Removed from the world as I knew it? I didn't know. I tried in vain to push whatever was coming out of me back in, to no avail. Those ghastly fingers pushed right back, and with more strength and power than I could imagine. The fingers thrust forward in an outreaching 5 salute, and then came the hand. Gruesome and coated in blood, and something else with the consistency of slime. The palm reached out to me as the fingers gripped the carpet, tightly, dragging. I was losing consciousness rapidly, failing to control my own breath. I was in the moment but without it simultaneously. All I could hear was the drone of white noise encapsulating my thoughts, but my attempts to weaken it are useless. All I have is my left hand pressed tightly against my ear, but still, that isn't enough. I feel myself falling, spiraling down a chamber, entering in the vestibule of light, returning to the solace of my bed, alone. Waking up was a befuddlement. I dumbly fall out of bed naked and struggle to put on my already worn clothes that are lying in a heap on my right-hand side. I'm not sure how I got there, but last night couldn't have been real, could it? I assess my surroundings and see that my bedclothes are caked in dried blood, and am hit by a harsh smell of iron and rot. Closing my eyes and laying down once more, I prepare myself to assess the damage I've done. I've done drugs before, but this couldn't have been one of those reoccurring trips that I've heard about. Every one of those stories were not even close to what I experienced that night. Eventually, I get up, searching my apartment. I see a dark pool of what must be blood on the carpet, and streaks of the same red dappling every which way. It appears that there was a struggle, but with someone else. Tentatively, I walk into the bathroom and push the closed door open. It creaks, but as soon as the hinges give way, I see something even more startling. It's me. I see myself in a bloody bundle, rear end in the air, head lying in the shower, softly pattering away. I creep up to my corpse, unsure of what to do, and see that I'm lifeless, tinged in purple and blue. That same dark red in the bedroom is scattered all over the bathroom and in streaks that lead up to the corpse, my doppelganger, as though it has been dragged. I must have done that. Shocked, I quickly rush over to check its wrists, but see none of what happened to me. Although when I assess myself, I don't see any marks on my wrists either. I hurriedly rip open the shower curtain off its rails and gently roll the body up in it. And when I see its face, I can't tell the difference between him and I. Painfully, I get into the shower and clean myself off. Water rushes over me in a torrent, and the same red drips onto my white shower floor that has already been stained by the corpse next to me. I get out, brush my teeth, wrap a towel around myself, and sit on my bedside for a while. I see the clock. I have to be at work in an hour, and it takes at least 30 minutes to get there. I need to be on time. I dry myself off, change, close my bathroom door, and pick up my lunch. Ready and waiting, about to leave, I still can't stop thinking, am I me or am I the clone? Thank you everyone for listening to my stories. If you enjoyed them, leave a like, subscribe, even leave a comment of any kind of stories you'd like to hear in the future. As always, I hope you had a wonderful day, and until next time, see you later.